Hello, people. Another beautiful day or night. Yep. Hope your five senses work. Hope your health and strength is good. What? What's up, gamers? Got a nice little article here for you. Listen to this. We're talking about the Activision Blizzard deal drama again. Listen to this. See, people need to shine a light on Sony. Sony's doing all this crying, but they are the bad guy in all this. Listen to this. Xbox says its Activision deal is fair. Let me cut this down here. It's too high here. Quiet. Okay. Now let's get to this. Says here, Xbox. We talk about the Activision Blizzard deal. Says here, Xbox says its Activision deal is fair because PlayStation has almost 5 times more exclusive games. So let me get this straight, Sony. You're doing all this crying, right? You have 286 exclusive games, right? You have a 70% market share, right? And Microsoft only has a 30% market share with 59 exclusive games. 286 exclusive versus 56. And you're crying, Sony? Shame on you. This article is from Games Radar. And you're sitting here crying? You have 286 exclusive games on PlayStation. And you have a 70% market share. Microsoft only has a 30% market share with 59 exclusives. And you're complaining about the Activision Blizzard deal? So tell me something, Sony Corporation. Why were you sitting on the side watching the whole situation? Why didn't you step in and offer assistance then? Why didn't you? If you would have stepped in, Microsoft could have never purchased Activision Blizzard. But since you and Nintendo sitting on the side cheerleading and you all didn't do anything, Microsoft stepped in. Okay? And then the other question I got for the Federal Trade Commission, I'm talking to them. Tell me something, Federal Trade Commission. To me, your lawsuit makes no sense, because when Activision was at their weakest point, how come you didn't ask Sony why they didn't step in? Okay, here's another argument for you. During the Spider-Man drama, when Sony got the rights to Spider-Man, right? How come you didn't step in then and stop Sony from getting that deal, and then tell Sony, like, okay, if you're gonna make Spider-Man on PlayStation, then it needs to be on Xbox. And when Sony was hitting Microsoft during that time with all those time exclusives, why didn't you step in? Federal Trade Commission, why didn't you? Why are you stepping in now? And you're saying that the deal is bad? How is the deal bad when Sony has 286 exclusives with a 70% market share, and Microsoft only has 59 exclusive games with a 30% market share? How is that deal bad? So if I'm a judge, if I'm the judge, and that's how I will come at the Federal Trade Commission. Here's another argument for the Federal Trade Commission. On Call of Duty Warzone, on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. On the PlayStation 4, with Call of Duty Warzone, PlayStation players get rewarded more. They do less work and get rewarded more. But on Xbox, they do more work and get rewarded less. How does that work? How is it that on Warzone, that's on both Xbox One and PS4, PlayStation players get rewarded more, but Xbox players get rewarded less? And the Federal Trade Commission is stepping in to try to block the deal and try to make Sony look like the victim. And they have a 70% market share with 286 exclusive games, and Microsoft only has what, 59 with a 30% market share. Federal Trade Commission, you need to look yourself in the mirror. What is the real motive behind your lawsuit? And why are you taking sides with Sony when they are the real culprit in all this because they didn't step in? Just saying. So when it comes to this whole Activision Blizzard deal, like they say on Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, first come first serve. Because when Activision Blizzard was at their weakest point, and they was having turmoil all over the place, and all these reports were coming out the woodwork, Sony was sitting on the side. They never stepped in. They stepped in after Microsoft made the purchase. Why they didn't step in before? Yeah. So when it comes to the deal, Microsoft was right for this. Okay. And I'm hearing the thing about Call of Duty is this. Activision Blizzard with Call of Duty, they have been consistent. They have been consistent. Where other studios do, when they do shooters, they do a 2 and out, a 3 and out, or a 4 and out, meaning that they make 2 to 3 games and then it's done. They don't make another game after that. What Activision did, it's called consistency. It's called speed. It's called tempo. It's called a sense of urgency. It's called tempo. Activision with Call of Duty, they kept being consistent. Every time they came out with a Call of Duty, they raised the bar when it comes to shooters. And that's the difference between Activision Blizzard and everybody else that does shooters. Everybody else, they're not consistent. Activision has been consistent with Call of Duty. Even when EA went to go challenge the European Union, even when EA went to go challenge the European Union over loot box, Activision kept being consistent. Every time they come out with a Call of Duty, they bring some new feature to the game, and it raises the bar. And once they stumbled up on Warzone, thanks to PlayerUnknown Battleground and Fortnite, Call of Duty now is a two-headed monster coming at you. I got Call of Duty with the story mode and a single-player experience plus multiplayer. But then I have Warzone now. That's a straight battle royale. So and I'm throwing both of them at you at once, and then I got a user base behind both games, and then I got a lot of updates behind that. So when it comes to Call of Duty, it's consistency. Where other studios do a 2 and out and 3 and out, or even 4 and out, Activision just kept coming with Call of Duty, and every time they come out with another one, they raise the bar, and now they can't be touched. So when it comes to this whole Activision Blizzard situation, Sony never stepped in. They stepped in after. Okay, you got 98% out of 100. 98% of the shareholders at Activision Blizzard agreeing to this deal. And then all of a sudden Sony want to step in. So by the time they stepped in, the deal was already done. So to me now, the Federal Trade Commission, to me, is like a bunch of Sony fanboys, okay, coming up with fake arguments. But you can't come up with an argument against the deal when Sony has 286 exclusive with a 70% market share. How are you going to stop the Activision Blizzard deal when Sony got that lead? And Sony has been dominating the market thanks to the PlayStation 1. And Microsoft, they came in after PlayStation 2 was out. Okay? And then they had to work their they had to work their way up and try to stay competitive. Sony looks bad in all this, man, when it's all said and done. You know, they're doing all this complaining over nothing. And here's another argument too. The judge needs to ask Sony and the Federal Trade Commission, like, okay, what happened to SOCOM? What happened to Killzone? What happened to Resistance? How comes those studios that made those games, how comes they weren't consistent like how Activision is with Call of Duty? That's what a judge needs to ask Sony. What happened to those studios? Okay, and why were you so why were you so invested in Call of Duty? What happened to your other games? And here's another one. Before Kojima walked out the door, why did you let him go? Why didn't you just pay him some income, pay him like 20 million or 30, just to keep him, so you can keep Metal Gear, because right now Konami is a shell of themselves. Why did you let Kojima walk out the door? You know what I'm saying? So this whole Activision Blizzard deal exposes a lot of things about Sony. You know, another question the judge could ask him: okay, how comes your PlayStation 3 doesn't have external hard drive support? You know what I'm saying? Sony opened Pandora's box, man. So the moment they decided to start complaining about this deal, everybody need to take a flashlight and shine on Sony and ask them questions. Okay, like what happened to your shooters that you have? Like, how come you didn't keep your consistency up with just keep your consistency up, just like Activision did with Call of Duty? Because if you notice, when it came to Call of Duty, they have been consistent. Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3, Call of Duty World at War. And then when they dropped Modern Warfare, Call of Duty took off. World at War was already doing damage, but Modern Warfare, the first one, it was like gaslighting Call of Duty, and they just kept coming, a new feature every time. So you know, the judge need to ask the Federal Trade Commission, what is your sole purpose with this? What is your main mission with this lawsuit? And how can you defend Sony when they have 286 exclusives? Just saying. I mean, listen to this though. It says here, Xbox says this Activision deal is fair because PlayStation has almost 5 more exclusive games, 5 times more. Says here, with the U.S. Federal Trade Commission now pursuing legal action to block Microsoft's $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard, the House of Xbox is now making the case that the biggest acquisition in game history would actually promote competition on the grounds that PlayStation already has way more exclusive games and a larger share of the console market. That is true. Says according to Bloomberg, Microsoft President Brad Smith reportedly made comments at a shareholders meeting today, claiming that the company promised the FTC a legal binding agreement that would guarantee Call of Duty stay on rival platform, including PlayStation. Bloomberg previously reported that Microsoft has finally acknowledged the elephant in the room and included PlayStation Plus as a part of its Call of Duty offer. Cementing a concession Microsoft has made to help the deal gain approval. The FTC has argued that this deal will give Microsoft control over a leading studio and enable it to harm competition in multiple dynamics and fast-growing gaming markets, most notably the subscription and cloud-based gaming. Microsoft apparently made this latest offer before the FTC vote to sue over the deal, so it clearly didn't appease the commission. Then it says here, Smith described the FTC case as a world where Sony, PlayStation, Microsoft, Xbox represent the entire market. Sony has 70% of the market, and we have 30%, says. So the first thing a judge is going to have to decide is whether the FTC lawsuit is a case that will promote competition, or is it really instead a case that will protect the largest competitor from competition. and that's what they're doing. But here's where it gets interesting now. More to point, Smith claimed PlayStation commands 286 exclusive games, while Xbox holds 59. Though it's unclear how exactly these numbers were tabulated, nevertheless, Smith says a judge will have to decide whether going from a 59 to 60 is such a danger to competition that he should stop this acquisition from moving forward. It's even more unclear how Microsoft acquiring all Activision Blizzard would gain Xbox just one exclusive game, as Smith seemed to imply, let alone that would be sole consequence of the deal. Xbox boss Phil Spencer made similar comments just days ago, arguing that Sony only object to Activision buyout because it wants to protect its dominance. According to Spencer, who zeroed in on the Call of Duty debate that becomes so central to the deal, it's a case of large console maker in the world raising an objection about the one franchise that we said we will continue to ship on the platform. Microsoft and Sony both continue to say basically anything that helps their position with the deal. Microsoft is trying to make itself look as insignificant as possible, while simultaneously drumming up Sony dominance and blaming Activision Blizzard doesn't actually make must-have games, which is of course very funny. Then he says here, meanwhile Sony has argued for months that the deal would have major negative implication for gamers, and has now reached the point of claiming that Microsoft's true strategy is to make PlayStation like Nintendo, or as less close and less effective competitor by denying the platform key games, keeping them for itself. Would better believe this corporate drama is only to get sweeter as the FTC lawsuit moves forward. To me, Sony's just crying over nothing, man. Sony trying to act like they don't have games. That's what this whole lawsuit comes down to now, when I really look at the whole situation. Sony is crying wolf and trying to make it look like they don't have any games, when they are the actual culprits in all this. Because you can't, how can you argue that against, you're arguing against the Activision Blizzard deal, but you got 286 exclusives to Microsoft 59. Sony looks bad in all this, and somebody needs to shine a light on them. Like, okay, what happened to your games like SOCOM, Resistance, and Killzone? Those are shooters. How comes they weren't as consistent as Call of Duty? You know, what happened? You know, and go on from there. But to me, Sony's like crying wolf when they are the bad guys, and Microsoft was right for this. And another thing, you know, people need to ask Sony, okay, you saw Microsoft buying ZeniMax Bethesda, right? And plus there were other studios out there in the gaming world up for grabs, like WB Games for $5 billion. While that was going on, and the moment Activision Blizzard became an issue, why didn't you Sony or Nintendo didn't step in to try to help out Activision Blizzard? Why did you only step in after the deal was done? You know, so that's what a judge needs to ask them though. But to me, Sony's doing this for nothing. They're complaining about Xbox, but they have 286 exclusives versus Microsoft 59, and you got a 70% market share versus Microsoft 30. Makes no sense. So to me, the FTC is just wasting their time with this. You know, trying to make an argument when there really isn't any, and they're trying to make Xbox look like the bad guys in all this, but the real bad guy in all this is Sony Corporation. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek fan. Or Dark Side. Go. Peace.